Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today I got sort of a review crossed with a video about rear backup cameras as dash cameras. Now this was sent to me by Pier28. This is a waterproof remote lens for the Street Guardian ZC12RC or SGZC12RC, and you buy this separate from the camera, but the original camera did have a remote lens also, which I did review. So the original looks like this. We got the recording unit on the left with the screen, and then the original remote lens on the right. Now that one isn't waterproof. So this new waterproof one, what I'm going to do is install it near my license plate on the trunk outside. So it'll be about where a normal rear backup camera would be. So there's Pier28's information. As usual, you can buy this camera directly from Pier28 or through Amazon, and they'll be the seller on Amazon. But this comes with a really long USB cable, and there you can see it looks pretty simple. I'm actually going to take this little bracket off of it. Just uses a few screws, but there you can see the camera comes with a shorter cable that plugs into the longer cable. So I'm just going to use some adhesives. So this might just be a temporary mount, I'm not totally sure. I did offset it from the center a little bit, and you'll see why in a minute, but here you can see I wired it up through the license plate light, and it actually stays in just fine, and then I wired it along with the light, or wires that go to the light, and down to my trunk. And I'm going to have just a sort of sloppy install right here, but don't have the memory card in, but this is what it's going to look like from the screen. And one thing I'll say right off the bat though is currently there's no mirrored mode, so it's going to be really hard to use as a backup camera. In addition to currently not having any sort of mirrored mode, without the lines that a typical backup camera has that show the distance between your bumper and hitting something, it's really hard to judge distance with this camera. And this camera doesn't have a video out either, so there's no way to hook it up to a larger screen. And you'll see when I back up with the camera, it's not a very big screen, so you really have to look closely at this small screen. But there's a lot of reasons why I would want to use this still, so we'll cover that. And this is why I originally offset the camera. You'll see I usually have a bike rack on my car, so if you have anything on the back of your car, like any sort of hitches, it's going to get in the way. So right away that makes it not that great for a dash camera. But you'll see compared to my normal rear camera, which is a Blackview DR650 currently with a front 1080 camera, it could have some advantages, because when my Blackview's in my window there's a lot of reflection, and it makes the license plates a lot harder to read actually. Now one benefit of having the camera inside in the usual spot at the top of the window is you do get a little bit higher view. So in certain situations you do actually want to have a camera up high as opposed to down low by the license plate. But if you really want to capture license plates, the camera down below with the ZC12RC actually does an awesome job capturing license plates. Now one thing that you aren't going to see here, but I know is going to be a problem, is the fact that the lens is outside. It's going to get dirty, which means it's going to have to be cleaned a lot. It could get scratched from gravel or sand kicking up against the lens. So that's something I am expecting to happen. I've only been using it like this for about a week, so I haven't had that issue yet, but it's definitely something to make note of. But so far, without a window and a bunch of reflections from the rear dashboard reflecting in the window, it looks so much nicer. Everything's so much clearer. It doesn't look washed out or anything. So I'm definitely going to keep using both for now and see how this stands up over a month or so. But like I said, I'm expecting to have to clean it probably quite often. So all of these shots have actually been showing are both the Blackview and the Street Guardian at the same time, so you'll notice some of the same cars in different shots. This just also shows the wide angle from the Blackview set higher up and further into the car versus the low wide angle of the Street Guardian. Now, there's times where the Street Guardian actually looks like it has a wider view or is getting a further picture from the sides. I think it's actually because it's not really straight, so you'll notice that it gets a really wide view on the left side. But I think overall the black view with its higher up, further back mounting location does actually get an overall wider and bigger picture of what's going on all around. So there's definitely pros and cons, like I said, but one of the things that without a doubt the Street Guardian with a waterproof camera has an advantage on is parking lot security. So that's what I'm going to show next. So I tested both cameras in a parking lot at the Mall of America, and I'll compare the same shots or of different cars pulling in and out of parking spots. And you'll see here, when a SUV or car is really close, you can read the license plate just fine. But with the Street Guardian and the license plate mounted camera, you do get a much better, clearer picture of the license plates. Sometimes cars' license plates will actually go below my bumper, and the black view won't be able to see it at that angle, but the Street Guardian will. Now earlier I had an annotation that I did add the CPL filter to my black view because in the first shot I didn't have one and there's so much reflection. So it does reduce the reflection, but the CPL filters do darken the image a little bit, so I tried upping the brightness a tad on the black view. But either way, you can see that it's noticeably darker while it's recording inside the car as opposed to how bright and clear the Street Guardian camera is, because there's no windshield in front of it, there's no reflections in front of it. I did want to point out though, when I did actually take some screenshots from the black view videos, I was able to zoom and turn the brightness up or whatever I needed to do, and for the most part, if I was able to read the license plate in the Street Guardian video, most of the time I was able to read the license plate in the the black view video also. So it's not like you can suddenly read a lot more license plates in the Street Guardian video. It just makes it a lot easier, I would say. And that's going to be pretty common because they're both 1080p cameras, both 1080p 30 frames a second cameras. So it's not like the Street Guardian has a higher resolution or anything. But time and time again, it does seem like from these videos that it is a lot easier, at first glance at least, to read the license plates in the Street Guardian video. Now the Street Guardian also buffers video like the black views. So the black view has an actual parking mode with 5 seconds buffered recording. So if it senses motion or G-shock, it'll say 5 seconds prior and then 25 seconds following. Now the Street Guardian ZC12RC doesn't actually have a true parking mode, but the motion detection works basically the same as the black view, so my motion detection on it is just always on. So now here's that same shot, and if you're reading the annotations, there's going to be a van on the left side that pulls out, and you can see in the black view video it actually was only in shot for just a second or two because it actually goes underneath the top of my hood so you can't see the license plate. So in some situations like this, you might not ever get a shot of the person's license plate, especially if there's bad weather or anything, or if it's really dark. So in this case, you could see the license plate the entire time because it's right down next to the license plate. And that's really where the advantage of having a camera like this is going to be. Now, there is one disadvantage, I would say, to having a camera this low. You'll see me walk into frame and set off the motion detection, and you'll see me, I'll be looking down at the camera actually to see if it's dirty. That whole shot you can see my face pretty much. It wasn't super clear, but it was for the most part. Here you can see once I get close to it, you can't actually see my face. And this is where I was saying it seems like the camera is actually a little bit pointed to the left, because you can see very far to the left but not very far to the right. So if this was more centered, you might not have hardly gotten to see my face at all, because since I came from the left, it actually gave a longer time to see my face. But that is the one disadvantage of having a camera down low, is that you're not always going to be able to see someone's face walking by if you're afraid of people keying your car or something. So anyways, I've seen a lot of people asking questions regarding using some sort of backup camera as a rear dash camera, so I hope this video is helpful and shows the pros and cons of using that. Like I mentioned in the video, the best pro about using a camera like this, or a backup style camera as a dash camera, is you really do get license plates in your shots a lot easier. They're far easier to read, and you don't have to deal with the reflection of the windshield or grime on your windshield. But obviously the big con is the fact that it's exposed to the elements. You're going to have to keep it clean and make sure dirt's not getting on it, and it could even scratch because of sand or gravel getting kicked up at the camera. And while it actually surprised me, it didn't make that big of an impact, as much as I thought it would at least. With a traditional style camera installed on the top of your rear window, you do get a slightly better sort of bird's eye view of your surroundings as opposed to just down below. But if you are just concerned with capturing license plates of anyone that hits you, then maybe a camera like this down by your license plate is the better option. What I would like to see though is some sort of license plate camera that's actually meant for a rear view camera that is compatible with a dash camera like this. I would really like to have something that has those yellow and red lines in the image, so you can sort of judge your distance between another car when you're backing up, because without those lines it makes this pretty poor as a backup camera actually, as opposed to just a better security camera for recording license plates. And I would also really like to have something with a camera like that that has a video out also, so it could go to, say, a navigation screen, so that way you can have a bigger image to look at as opposed to just a small 2.5 inch LCD or whatever the Street Guardian LCD is. But anyways, I'd like to thank Pier28 for sending this out for review. If you guys have questions or comments, please comment down below. If you know of any cameras or dash cameras that actually check some of these boxes for what I'm saying I want, I'd like to hear about that, and I will definitely give them a try. Of course, I'll provide links down below to where you can pick up the ZC12RC or the waterproof camera, so check the affiliate links down below. As usual, drive safe, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.